We're gonna give it another minute, to allow a couple of stragglers.
So I'll call this
I'll
meeting
just
to
send
order.
it to you.
Okay. I just want to know beforehand, because my notes are not that great last time.
No, it's
Alright, so I'll call this meeting to order. People trickle in as they can.
Yeah.
Do you want to get the notes taken care of? Did everyone get a chance to take a look and can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second. And if we have any, yeah, actually, you want to give a thumbs up or thumbs down? If you can hear me.
Asia, are you on? No, she may have stepped away.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I think it's fine.
Okay. All right. One of the first pieces of business that I do want us to touch on is, we had decided last month to not. Great.
Thank you.
We had decided not to hold an August meeting, and unlike much of the time, I actually looked ahead, and currently our September meeting is scheduled for Labor Day, where we will not be having a meeting. So I would like to ask this group whether you would prefer to have the meeting the week before, which would be August 25th, or the week after, which would be September 8th. I don't know if people need the last gasp of summer. Karina, I know you're gonna be away, so I don't know if you'll be back by then. I'll be back by then. Okay.
When does school start?
The second, for most folks, I think.
The third for RHSF probably. That's a Wednesday, start on a Wednesday. Probably.
Yeah, the
Let's
eighth
do
time.
it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I assume we have to vote on that, right, Joy? Or,
No, as long as notice is posted,
Okay.
yeah, you don't necessarily need to vote on what the next meeting is, just as long as notices, are correct. And, I mean, obviously the board has notice of its current meeting, because we just mentioned it at the
Great.
meeting. So, yeah, we're,
wonderful, wonderful. Then, Asia, if you are able, if you have, microphone, hey girl. Do you want to give the short and sweet treasurer notice? Or not?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. So I was having issues with I had to switch over to my phone because the laptop's not working.
Okay.
All right, so it's not much to report. Total available funds at the beginning of the month was $104,838, and invoices received was $5,050.75, and we are pending payment. And just a reminder for everybody to take their ABO training. You can contact Leah with those dates. They're usually on the website. It tells you the dates.
All right. Yep, I have most of the ABOs, but there are a few of you who've had other life issues, what was needed to do that.
Question, is that annual or how often with the frequency?
say they recommend 2 or 3 years or something?
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
not annually.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you've taken it recently for this, you can ignore this reminder. Okay. Following from the treasurer report, in terms of activity, yes, yeah, I didn't notice it wasn't. Sorry about that, we're supposed to be on video and here we are.
Takes it. Yeah.
I forgot, we're all here. So, legal aids program has completed. They have one more report to make for me, but as of last month, they had assisted 126 households. Community Place has asked and received an extension, but as of right now, they have supported 60 households. Habitat has completed. They were able to assist the 22 households that they had anticipated. And Baden Street is extended just slightly so they can kind of finish off the last few slots. As of our last notice from them, they have supported 113 households. So if in your daily life you run across somebody who still needs some mostly rental, assistance, send them to Community Place / Charles Settlement House. They do still have a bit of money,
Regardless of where they might live.
regardless of where they might live. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, comments on any of those?
The data that Community Place presented, can we get access to that?
Yes, I'm sure we can.
I did ask her for it, but she hasn't responded. I'm sure she's busy though.
Yes, and I feel like I've gotten something, but now I don't remember if it was in relation to their extension or if I just forgot, if it was what you wanted and I forgot to send it. So I will follow up on that.
It's really related to our eviction prevention study, so.
All right. I do not have updates on our application. Thank you to everybody who submitted suggestions and other things. I just have not had a chance to incorporate those. But before we launch it, I will send it to everybody for another review and input. All right. Certainly by the time we have our next meeting, I anticipate reports from our 3 smaller organizations. We have gotten some information from Esther Project. It just needs a little tweaking before it's really reportable. And then in terms of the committees, I do not, if you want to advise me, Joanne, how we do the approval, the votes for committee assignments. Do we read off the people who are in each committee? Do we read off each name?
Yeah, it'd just be, you're reading off essentially who is up for each committee, and then it'd be up for the board to vote for those respective officers or members of those committees.
Okay,
And then obviously you're abstaining if it's yourself, right? So.
okay. So by handing that to you, I think to do.
So basically we vote individually, one by one.
So I think what he's saying is you're gonna say the audit committee
Yeah,
is these 2 people, we're voting.
Okay. And then just motion, all right. So for audit, we've got Latasha and we've got Laura. I'm assuming anyone who was really comfortable with placement has already reached out and requested.
I hope so. If
Yeah.
not, you
Okay.
still have that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't want to like swing right by it if anyone.
Hopefully everybody reads my email.
All right, so basically I'm nominating them.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to nominate Latasha and Laura for our audit committee. Can I get a motion? Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Awesome. For Finance Committee, we're gonna have Aisha, Durrell, Isidoro, and Tim, and Melissa. Perform their nomination. Motion. Second, we start appointing people. No.
Wait, hang on, who's made the motion second?
I motioned it.
Okay,
It's second.
okay.
All right, and for Governance Committee,
We
since
didn't
that one.
vote, we gotta vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Awesome, thank you. And because I'm one of them, does someone else have to do it?
You can just nominate it and
You
it's
just
just gonna
can't
be
vote.
reflected.
Okay, all right, for governance, we're putting up Melissa, Carol, Cindy, Karina, Madeline, and myself. Do I have a motion?
Melissa, sorry, one more time. Melissa,
We have Melissa, Carol, Cindy, Karina, Madeline, and myself.
Motion?
Second. Second from Tim. All in favor?
Aye. Oh,
Any
we can't.
Any opposed? All right. We're all set.
Great.
Now, when it comes to meeting schedules, is that something we have to?
I will be sending out emails for each of the groups. This year is still kind of our practice year in terms of how the ABO wants things to happen. Theoretically, September would be when we have our annual meeting, which would mean that August, the audit committee would need to meet and review everything to make sure that what gets presented to the larger group in September is acceptable for recommendation. We don't exactly have a whole lot yet, but it is possible that I will snag our two sad little audit committee people so we can look at what we do have in August, since we won't have it.
So excited to be on it.
Meaning you have to meet in August, not necessarily that you're a small tiny group. I just went through this with a different organization where I'm the treasurer, and so we didn't want a whole lot of people sitting around on the audit committee, so that's it. Governance and finance, we will be more meeting further out in the year, and we'll set those up. I think that also goes back to the conversation that we have started having, but we haven't really had, which is how long do we want to have monthly meetings? Because we can continue to have them forever. Or at some point, do we want to feel like we're more in a groove and have quarterly meetings, and then the governance and finance, et cetera, would meet sort of in the off months? And that may be something that we want to, dig into today, because I don't have any other big things on our agenda. But I think there are pluses and minuses to the idea of meeting every month, because it's nice, but also, is it better for us to really be targeted about we're meeting, here's 6 things we want to vote on, and then have different times for the committees.
Well, I mean, once we start one, it doesn't mean we're necessarily married to that schedule.
That's true.
So when there's less projects going on, maybe quarterly, but I would also be thinking like every time we've met, even monthly, we fill that hour, we're talkers, and we want to be able to have that kind of wiggle room. I don't want to be constricted to an hour every quarter, because then maybe we don't get, maybe some people don't get to ask questions they want at the time,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting how that could fit in with the RFP review process, so I would just be curious about how quarterly works with actually reviewing the project proposals. So,
Yeah, and then I would also add that it depends on what the committees are working on, so is it a strategic plan, because you might need to meet more regularly, that might include more large group meetings, if it is something like that, so I think it depends on what the groups are meeting on.
Any other thoughts?
Not to open up a can of worms, but in relation to what Melissa was just saying, like, what is that charter? Are we looking to engage in a strategic planning process? I guess knowing what the next 12 months is looking like for our activity would dictate what kind of cadence we'd be looking at. If it's kind of more of kind of what we've been doing over the last several months, then yeah, the need to meet monthly probably isn't there.
I mean, at the moment, we have $100,000 that we have to work with. I think we're all doing our best to sort of advocate and think about where other funding could come from. But with $100,000, I don't necessarily know, other than, this magical application that we have not completed or issued yet, maybe we will garner a lot of interest and immediately be giving out that money. Maybe we will have things trickle in. Perhaps it's a little glass half empty of me, but it's a little hard for me to think about a strategic plan if we don't know what other funding there is. Not to say that's not important, right? You don't want to not plan for things, but also it's more of a crystal ball than I'm necessarily comfortable with. Maybe some of you in your work lives have been working with less and you know how to guide us.
You had shared those bills last meeting, and I'm wondering what level of advocacy can this particular organization engage in? And is that a formal thing that we can work on, or is that more of an informal thing?
I think I asked you after we met, something about, you said there is like a specific kind of legislative liaison or someone that's their job to do kind of for us?
So, and Carol could certainly step in on this as well. My understanding is that city priorities, specifically, there is a consultant, a lobbyist advocate who works on things that directly relate to the city. So we have that path as part of the general list of things that person advocates for. They can add this to their list. There's some background work I need to do to give them what they need. So that is kind of the most formal. In terms of this group, I don't know what level of power we have to gather elected officials. But I know you guys are both with RMAPI, there is that possibility. I think you've had some opportunities to meet with elected officials, maybe some of the rest of you have as well. I think that more goes towards the informal. And I think as board members, I don't think there's any harm in doing that, right? Hey,
Yeah, I mean, we definitely could add it to, but we would need that background, that same background information that you were gonna provide to your policy advocate. We would need that in terms of trying to add it to the policy agenda for our MAPI as well. So they do a policy agenda that they try to provide to our state officials to advocate for at the state level. So that is something we could try to get in front of them to put as part of their policy agenda. That I don't think that's a hard task, but they are gonna want a lot of information about it, so.
So this is something, I guess, individual board members can actually do as far as, yes, you remember automatically bringing it up to them and that kind of thing. But when it comes to just say our board overall, then since we're still under the city, then there are definitely certain protocols that we would have to follow. But you did make a very good point, which is, do we have a consultant that does lobbying, that kind of thing? This would be maybe added to the list, but we would need to, of course, go through go through the chain.
Right, so, yeah, so I cannot do anything formal, it all sort of feeds through. But as opportunities arise, and, you know, we have made, some presentations to the mayor and the deputy mayor about, you know, ways that maybe the city would choose to go in terms of advocating. No decision has been made on preferences, so that's sort of, as Carol would put it, more to come.
I guess just because I'm used to being in the nonprofit space, it's like you need money for a project, let's just go pound the pavement and go get it. It's a little bit, obviously, it's a little bit different here. But you know, that resource, and having that is what will lead into a more strategic plan. So I guess just to make sure that I've kind of turned over those stones, Emily, what other ways are we able to act in a way that can help us be set up for a place where we can get more funding? So advocacy informally is one thing, making sure that we're getting updates on what lobbying efforts the city is having with those. Are there any other things that we would want to pursue, either individually or as a group, to as opposed to just kind of waiting and hoping?
I mean, if grant opportunities or funding ideas come past your desk, for those of you who are also grant funded, I don't want you to make the choice between, hey, if we apply for this and they apply for this, this could be a problem. But if there's something that comes by your desk and you're like, oh, this would be great, send it to me. You know, I think we should be applying for grants. We should be having conversations with foundations. I will give you an example. I felt a little awkward. I went to the M&T Charitable Foundation breakfast, and all of these very deserving small nonprofit organizations were talking about, you know, how if they don't get funding, they're going to have to shut their doors, and the United Way is, you know, we all know the United Way is falling down, and I was sitting there feeling like I don't really feel comfortable talking about, hey, we also need money for something that doesn't actually have staff at the moment, and so I just felt a little weird about it. That is not to say that I don't love what we're doing. I think we're doing great things. But I do need a little help getting over that hump of, I don't wanna be taking money out of.
Just have to ask. There's money.
Well, then, so I tried to have a conversation with I did have a separate meeting, but it was very awkward because they kept wanting to talk about the Celebrate City Living Initiative, which does not need money. And I kept saying, well, you know, but we're doing this other thing. Yes, but Celebrate City Living, what is your ask? I don't have an ask. I do have an ask here. Oh, you do? But Celebrate City, no, I really wanted to. It was, I don't really know where we ended up with that.
It's the historical investment.
Yes.
That's where it's coming from.
Yes.
So we need a new shift there.
Yes.
So keep pushing.
I will keep pushing.
But just, to help you get over the hump, remember, you're just a clearinghouse. So you're not hoarding it.
Right.
It's not that money's gonna go to staff or
Yeah,
anything.
it's not
so
going
it
to
goes
you, it's not
directly
going
to the
start,
community.
right back out. So, and to places where that's not generally getting funding, so you're finding those new places, so think of it that way.
Thank you.
We're keeping, you're not taking it.
Right, you're adding capacity.
Yeah, you're adding.
And we're keeping families stable in house.
Exactly.
I think, like, as members of this board, especially with how new it is, I think all of us are now in the role of fundraisers. And so I'm wondering if at a subsequent meeting or a separate like work group meeting, however that needs to go legally, if we could all kind of host like a little workshop or training about, so you said you have an ask for it, what is that ask and what are we leaning into and what are our talking points? So that we can start to be those fundraisers in the community where it makes sense for us to differentiate our roles in our own organizations versus this one. I think having that would be good. To be able to pitch them on you, yeah, we're kind of the clearinghouse, but it's also, I think a funder would be interested in that, would hear what our goals are and hear how we're looking to track success and them going, yes, that's exactly what we're looking for, but we don't have the capacity to make sure all these other small organizations are actually doing that. So we're gonna give the money to you so you can essentially do that job, and that's kind of the case that we would be able to make.
Does that seem more like a governance or finance? Because we already have committees, right?
Yeah.
So potentially that could be rolled up into one of those.
Could be, I mean, I guess if you had to pick one, it would be finance.
Which doesn't mean that the governance committee couldn't talk about it.
Right.
And then I would say that, one of the things that I definitely count on from the board is to constantly be keeping your ears open when you're out in the world, making sure that we are, as much as we can, learning about small organizations that are doing the work that we support, or, what are the trends that, Rochester residents are really suffering with, because that will only make our applications, but our impact that much better. Because as much as we could sit in the room and talk to each other, that's wonderful, but, the goal is, who do we know and what do they need? And who don't we know and what do they need? And so I wanna, every month, remind us that that's really the best thing that we could be doing. Yes, we need money, but also, so what? What are we gonna do with the money that is gonna be small but mighty? And, we are doing great things, right? I know it's $1 million, but, that's 250 households that in a year, we have made their lives, even if it was temporary, we have made their lives and their stress levels significantly better. And, we need to be sure that we're celebrating that. And I feel confident that, these other, the newer organizations and their programs will also continue to do that. Asia?
Okay. I had a question. You just had made me have a thought-provoking question. So I was talking to this nurse, and she had a house where people who like had a hard time paying for like regular rent. She had a house and she was renting out rooms, and it wasn't like under a specific organization, but it's something she was thinking about starting, like an organization for housing. So would we support some like a small business like that, renting out rooms for people who like need to get on their feet? And then she followed them like after they left, and they like helped them with other services like resume building and that kind of stuff, just so they can continue on with the stability. And they're all doing really well.
That sounds a lot like what Izzy was asking about, like whether we would support that. And I think the simple answer was yes. The more complicated answer is, how do they demonstrate that they, that they've done appropriate trainings to know how to do it. That they're not just putting money into their own pocket.
It's like where I was getting along, like an owner essentially paving their own road and presenting a plan, but how?
Yeah.
How would all those pieces work is just unfamiliar.
So you're in zoning, so it would be considered a rooming house. So you can send it out.
Theoretically, yes, and there's very, 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 very few places you can legally do it, and that's really from the zoning perspective, it's gonna be the hurdle of where can you legally do what they're proposing to do?
Okay.
And a lot of individuals will think about zoning districts, right? They just think, well, this is a house, and I have rooms, let's put it here.
Right.
Not realizing where the only place you have a right to do that is in a very small section of the city.
So I'm just curious now, rooming houses themselves are illegal, a rooming house, and that's what I'm
It could be.
not
So
sure.
the zoning code does define rooming houses, and it does have different parameters, it has its own specific requirements.
Okay.
But they do, it's just, you're not allowed to have a rooming house anywhere besides, R2 and above, and R2 is, especially permitted use, and then R3 is permitted as of right. So it really depends, but it's gonna be case by case person.
Sure. And then, but there are, we'll say residential care facilities of sort,
Correct.
where those are probably.
Correct. Yeah, so the big difference between the zoning code is that residential care facilities are required to have 24-hour staffing, while rooming houses don't, right? Rooming houses, the main component is whether or not the rooms were originally designed to be rooms, so like someone that just take their living room and turn it into 4 bedrooms that are 40 square feet. These rooms were originally designed to be bedrooms.
Okay.
And there isn't a 24-hour requirement, but there needs to be point of contact at all times, and if it's over 15 people, you're required to have at least an on-staff person.
So Asia, I think, the easy answer is yes, it could be done, but in logistically, this person that you were talking to probably wants to have a set of different conversations, not even related to whether they get money, but ways to get support to do it, so that, you know, when they're ready, they're not surprised by any potential hiccups.
Correct. The process of getting their CMO it's sometimes difficult depending on where they're asking. So they might want to have that conversation with zoning and permitting before they have this conversation. Otherwise, they're applying for funding in a place that isn't legal to be used that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, she's probably doing it now.
Correct.
Right, well, we won't tell on anybody. We don't wanna know that. We don't wanna know.
Usually, people probably don't even know that they're doing something.
Yeah, they don't.
And everybody need a hand up.
Right, this is a very common thing to do nowadays.
So,
Everybody's doing it, I feel like everybody's doing it, you know, they wanna go to board income, like they want, at least in my world, they wanna use it for income, and it's just like, what do you have, really, you're renting a room out of your house, and you wanna use it, there are so many people that are doing this, because they themselves need money, and they are helping someone that.
I feel like it's different, and maybe this is a zoning question, maybe it's not. There's a difference between you have a building that you don't live in, and you have a cycle of people in need or not in need who are living there, versus your house, and you're letting somebody stay there for a variety of reasons, but it's still your house and you're there. I feel like the rules, in terms of fair housing, the rules were always different.
They are different, we define them differently. So if you're the owner, even if the owner doesn't live there, you can have up to 4 unrelated persons without needing to say, this is a rooming house. It's a single family house because the number is so small, right? So she might be fine if she keeps it under that number. What makes it complicated is when you create more separations, like, well, this room actually has a separate kitchen that the other ones can't use. This room has a separate entrance, well, that's technically an apartment, not a room. So those are things I get into with people, of the nuances of the legal differentiations.
Yeah.
But most folks just look at it as, well, it's a house and I'm just using it how I want to use it because it's my property.
It sounds like it's pretty flexible, if you will, if you're under 4 unrelated individuals.
It is, it's just what some people do is they take, well, if it's 4 unrelated people, well, then maybe I can add a kitchen and then charge more rent for those kitchens. Or, because everyone just takes it as a step where it's increase it. Well, I'm adding an addition that's gonna have this, and we're gonna do this, but it's still less than 4 people, except these people have a separate entrance and their own kitchen. Well, no, now you just created 2 separate dwelling units.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's everything that I had on my agenda. Are there other things that people want to be sure that we talk about, seeing as we won't see each other for 2 months?
No, just if you want us to give that information to our managers, whenever you're ready to just give it to me.
Yes, I had high hopes, and I did not live up to my high hopes.
No rush, because it's not, now it's gonna be next year's policy agenda.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm not in a great rush.
Like in the fall.
So don't feel like under pressure to get it done in the summer, because it's literally the fall for next year.
Did we get a final answer on, for now, our schedule? Because we kind of went off a little bit on like the strategic plan conversation. Did we get like a final?
It sounds like for now, we're still on monthly. And then we can change as we're taking a month off, and then we'll see where we look at.
Because what we do for one of the, meetings we have is we schedule it, and then if we don't need to meet, we just cancel it. So can we do that? Because when do we have to give the public notice?
Public notice is a week in advance.
So
And it's on an automated schedule, essentially, like with the city, right? So Leah says, okay, this is how often we meet. It's automatically posted and sent out, and, so that part is covered, then, yeah, we'll just put on the website or something like that, if meetings canceled, right?
Yeah, they like to have, the person who handles it likes to have 2 weeks notice.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right, I'm giving you the open meetings law, that's the city, that's the city policy.
City
Sure,
policy,
yeah.
they like to have extra time. But yes, we absolutely could, or we could change to, we could cancel it and have it be, a Zoom, and then it's not official, but people could still participate. So that's true, we do have that option.
Yeah, so I'm just like, keep a monthly, but we can always just cancel it if you didn't think that there was anything we really needed to meet about that month.
Is there a time of the year, well, this is very new, but tends to be like busier or slower? I know for me, winter is great, because I know if my house in the winter, it's so light. I feel like it's never slow for us.
Yeah, I don't think we know, and I think that will be determined by, as we get going, and eventually when we have more money, are we doing rolling applications or like 2 applications every year? Well, then obviously, right after the applications are due is when we'll all be busy, and then we won't again. But right now, the only things that I know for sure, are like we have to have an annual meeting, and there's some work I need to do, and Asia needs to do, prepping what you'll look at. But we have that grace because we're so new, that we have some flexibility. All right.
Make good time. Yeah. Nothing else then? All right, well, I guess, I'll call for motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? We're good.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Oh, look at that. Mr. Perry. Oh, funny.